To eat or not to eat, that is the dilemma. Hello, invisible friends. I am Logo, and I want to share with you the logical steps we can take if we have a major disease and how to face it while continuing to attend to the treatments and recommendations of your doctors. In biology, food is defined as the substance that has the property of providing the nutrients and energy necessary for an organism to fulfill its basic functions. We have to understand how the human body works and understand the demands and conditions of each human being and what our body does with what we eat. If we go to extremes, a regular diet of an Eskimo will be very different from that of the Bedouin who is in a desert of the Middle East. I imagine that the foods of the Eskimo will be much richer in fat, which is the way to efficiently house energy compared to the Bedouin who will not require as much. Another example would be a glass of vodka that would be welcome in a Siberian cold, while perhaps the Bedouin would drink fresh water from a coconut after a desert tour. A bodybuilder won't eat the same as a 1-month-old girl, and so on. From the previous chapter, we saw how foods were classified: proteins, fats, and carbohydrates. We also mentioned that it pulls the body out of them to build us up and function properly. First, use common sense. When it comes to food, not all meats contain the same food characteristics and qualities. Cattle that live in a healthy environment and do relative exercise, that eat grass and drink good water, will have a higher quality than an animal that does not move, eats only concentrated feed, and its life is under stress. That's the same as a fish living in the wild compared to pool-reared fish that only eat the food concentrate from hatch to harvest. One of the most extreme cases is that of chickens. A free-range chicken that lived a more dynamic life, that ate a little bit of everything and even ate feed concentrate and drank good water, is not the same. Like hens that lay eggs on the farm, ideally, a rooster fertilizes it and the egg is alive inside. This egg has a higher nutritional potential than its high-density production counterpart. A factory or high-density hatchery chicken. The reality is that these animals, from birth to end, have a life under pressure. The overcrowding in the population density is impressive. The chickens must be vaccinated for health reasons. Then the sharp tip of their beaks is removed so that they cannot harm themselves. Their concentrated food will be the same until the end, so that there are no pests or diseases. They are given dosed antibiotics. To make their growth and development faster, they receive doses of hormones. In many cases, they are not allowed to sleep with large lighting systems so that they eat more frequently. In the case of the massive egg industry, from the root of the name of what we are sold starts with lies. In biology classes in elementary school, I was taught that when you join a sperm with an ovary, the egg is formed. I was also taught that when this egg was not fertilized, it was expelled every 21 days on average in the female of the human, calling this process menstruation or menstruation. Why call eggs eggs if in the process there is no rooster to fertilize them? Who are we kidding? It may not sound good, but the reality is that the expulsion of unfertilized eggs in biology has a name. Is eating chicken menstruation really bad? I don't think it's a bad thing, just differentiating the fact that one contains a developing life and the other doesn't. What to do if the amino acid component of the yolk is not as concentrated in amino acids? Easy. Usually an adult doesn't eat just one. You can use 3 eggs and remove 2 whites and eat the rest. In the yolk are the amino acids and other important nutrients such as choline, so you don't overdo it with protein and give the leftover to your dog or the neighbors. To be clear, I'm not a purist and the practical exists. I'm not going to discuss whether or not someone uses any method in their production. What I do know is that there is a reason why children who particularly eat chicken in excess have a more accelerated development. Without going into detail, the mammary glands are more pronounced. What am I saying? Is chicken meat bad? That's not what it's about. The idea is that balance is important in order not to fall into an imbalance. The right thing to do would be to have a more varied diet. Thus, we will take a variety of proteins composed of various amino acids. What are the best fats or the healthiest fats? Healthy is that which contains substances that provide benefits or at least do not hinder organic processes. It seems silly, but the one who doesn't know doesn't choose. The one who chooses is someone else. Do you read the labels and know you're really buying, or do you just trust the advertising? Why do ingredients use smaller letters on labels? Butter, olive oil, coconut oil, and lard, they are my favorite fats as they are stable and provide the broadest positive spectrum and are easy to find. Other oils I like are sesame, natural, and toasted for dressing. There are many vegetable oils, and knowing how to use them is when, how and where is really necessary. There are oils that degrade very easily in the environment, oxidize and decompose, and end up rancid. We must avoid this as they would be harmful to health, no matter if their origin is from a very healthy source, be it avocado, almonds, etc. Another point to take into account in the kitchen is the temperature point of each type of oil that we use regularly. There are oils such as flaxseed that we should not use for cooking as they degrade 100 degrees Celsius, turning benefits into harms as it burns and destroys its composition. Therefore, it is best to cook with a medium heat. You can raise the temperature when what we cook is large enough to absorb that heat and not overheat the oil. The fats that we should keep out of our diet as much as possible are trans oils, oils that take many manufacturing steps to obtain, and those that contain hydrogenation. This topic will be discussed in more depth in the chapter on metabolic disruptors. Carbohydrates are a controversial issue. I want to present my vision depending on the type or family that sugars, starches, and fibers belong to. Let's imagine a family where there is a good child, fibers, a child who is addicted and a liar, sugars, and another who doesn't like to work and is very quiet, starches. Fibers are very positive, since the soluble part nourishes the microbiota of the intestine and the non-soluble part helps to block the excessive absorption of substances, such as sugar, and on the other hand gives structure to the stool so that it can be expelled with the so-called peristaltic movements. Nowadays, many doctors talk about the intestinal flora, and at the same time it seems that they believe in spontaneous generation. For those who do not know the term, it would be that this bacterial flora appeared out of nowhere or was the work of God. In fact, these microorganisms and bacteria came out of the living soil or soil, and by their means some of them also cohabit with plants. In fact, it has been proven that the same vegetable sown in sterile soil, beyond minerals, does not have the same nutritional content. In short, we need a healthy and diverse bacterial spectrum to be healthy, because without them we are nothing. To make it easier for you to understand it, like other living beings are like an aircraft carrier, and without that large crew we would not be able to accomplish the task. The more specialists we have, the more problems we can solve when it comes to a battle. Well, what should we eat then? Variety of fresh vegetables, preferably such as salads and cooked vegetables. Do not overcook them. Cereals such as oats, rice, and corn are a positive nutritional supplement. Wheat nowadays has become more of a problem than a solution for our diet. In the chapter on disruptors, we will touch on the topic of wheat. And remember, especially for raw salads, soak them in water with a little ultra-processed vinegar for human consumption for about 5 minutes to eliminate unwanted visitors such as amoeba, etc. Not all microorganisms are good. Many types are the enemy. Dressings such as a naturally fermented vinegar and soy sauce with a little olive or coconut oil are a boost to our health and that of our allies, the microbiota. Simple carbohydrates or sugars are not considered foods. They fall into the category of condiment. We live in a society that sees no limit to gratification. We eat as many times as we can if our whim so desires without seeing the consequences. Sweets or desserts, from my point of view, are a prize that from time to time we can indulge in. In fact, the media has distorted our assessment between aesthetics and health, making us think that their abundance is a symbol of love. If love is caring, how can we give them something that threatens their health and beauty? Many desserts boasted in TV shows based on 99% sugar are a grotesque and ordinary expression of collective stupidity that is applicable to a cake, an ice cream, or any other dessert. The media and movies often show exaggerations as if that really were a reward, molding our minds with false paradigms that lead us to the abyss. If you think I'm exaggerating the statistics of obesity, diabetes, cancer, heart attacks, among other ills, the death toll is only rising. That's millions of people a year, far more than all traffic accidents combined. We systematically destroy ourselves day by day, without realizing that we may not be the ones who do not make it to tomorrow. And if we do arrive, the question, under what conditions have we done it? My recommendation is to use sugar as little as possible, and leave occasional moments such as parties and celebrations for the time to reward ourselves. That way we will enjoy it much more and we will not have to deprive ourselves of doing it. More details will be mentioned in the chapter called The Disruptors. Sugar becomes addictive, and the worst thing is that it is everywhere. This is because it raises serotonin levels. Exaggerating, many drugs also do it, like cocaine and heroin. So everything in its time and place. Should a person who drinks a glass of wine at meals from time to time be in the same health condition as an alcoholic? Well, sugar acts in the same way and harm, especially fructose, by exceeding the levels of metabolization of the bacterial flora in the intestine. Sugar passes into the blood and in turn to the liver to be processed in the Krebs cycle. The liver is damaged since it is designed to work with glucose and not with sucrose or fructose. The causes of liver cirrhosis come from consuming too much alcohol and fructose exclusively. The magic word would be moderation and conscientiousness. Starches are made up of chains of sugars. Therefore, in order to absorb them, we must first break the chains of the bonds. Then the sugars metabolize them separately, which makes the absorption process much slower. That's why blood sugar levels rise very quickly, for example, when eating honey, while if we eat potatoes, the process is much slower. Corn, wheat, potato, and rice flours in general are considered carbohydrates. About 65% of their composition are sugars and starches. 10% is divided between simple fats and proteins. The rest would be fiber, 15%, minerals, and vitamins. These proportional data are not exact because they are different flours, but the general idea is to have an overview of the sugar levels in food. There's not just simple sugar. Did you eat sugar? And they respond, no, I just ate some sugar-free cookies. If we have learned, there is no need to lie to ourselves. It is better to take control with our conscience. Each one of us carves out our own happiness or misfortune. In the case of people with diseases, the ideal is to always eat foods with the highest nutritional potential. Friends, remember that I'm telling you about my experiences. Don't kill the messenger, so ask your doctor or trusted specialist about it. It is your decision to take the steps to move forward. If you liked the video and want to help spread the word, remember to click on the bell and subscribe to receive more information like this. Remember that step by step we can improve. The worst thing is to do nothing. Invisible friends, we see ourselves in the mirror